Well, Rube, this is an emergency podcast, Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro did not expect to be hopping on here today with you, Rube.
A lot of surprises today so far. It's still
Yeah.
early.
Monday morning, Zadarius Smith goes on Instagram, announces his retirement from the NFL. So the Eagles go from a thin edge rusher room to a thinner edge rusher room all of a sudden.
Yeah, did not see this coming at all. I talked to Za'Darius. I think I spoke to him on Tuesday last week in a locker room. He was gung ho. He was looking forward to playing, and there was certainly no indication that he was thinking anywhere along these lines. He had a lengthy Instagram post, but didn't really say why he's doing this, why he's doing it now. Didn't mention the Eagles. It was kind of weird. Um, he talked real generally about his career, and he had a really good long career. But as far as the Eagles are concerned, Vic was really happy with the way he was playing, and I mean, he was pretty good. I mean, he was really good in that Denver game. Might have been one of their best defensive players in the Broncos game. So, yeah, you're right. They don't get Nolan back possibly till after the bye, most likely till after the bye. Okoronkwo's on IR. Not that he was contributing a whole lot, but he was a body. Josh Sweat's in Arizona piling up sacks. I think he's got 4 of them now. Bryce Huff's in San Francisco. BG's retired. They got him on speed dial. They're really thin at the position. And it's funny because we were kind of questioning them because they kept 7. Oh, if they didn't keep 7, I don't know who they'd have left right now.
Yeah, you're right. They're down to 4 of those 7. You have Nolan Smith on IR, Okoronkwo on IR, and now Zadarius Smith retires. The reason I'm so surprised is because, like, remember when he got here and he signed after week 1? I asked him if he even like thought about retirement in the offseason, and he looked at me like I was crazy. Uh, but he's a 33-year-old guy, didn't join a team in training camp, had waited through the first week of the season. So you wondered if he really still wanted to play, but he talked like, man, no, I started football later. I have a lot left in the tank. So pretty abrupt.
Yeah, now I I can only speculate. Like, obviously, this team had 2 really bad losses the last two weeks. I wonder if that played into it. Maybe it wasn't going the way he expected. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I kind of think that's probably not part of it. Maybe he just, and sometimes you see this with older guys. They just, he's 33 and he may just something just clicked. You think about, you know, was it Mike Schmidt who just in the middle of the series just decided that's it. I had enough. I can't play at the level I'm used to, and just walked away. I don't know. I hope we get a chance to talk to him. We probably won't. He'll probably be gone by the time we get in the locker room, which won't be till Wednesday now. So I don't know. I mean, he's a good dude, and it was fun talking to him. But he's leaving the Eagles in a lurch here, and I can't imagine they saw it coming either. I mean, he's still on the roster, like on their website, so it's not like they were prepared for this. They haven't issued any comment or anything. I wouldn't expect them to. We'll ask Vic about it tomorrow, Tuesday. But uh, yeah, they're in a tough position. I mean, they haven't been getting pressure anyway, and now they're down to some guys who just. I mean, Patrick Johnson just had his first career sack in 51 games, and he's their sack leader now among edge rushers. And he's really a special teamer who's kind of forced into a role he's not ideal for, but he's a high effort guy, and I guess he'll have to play more. Azeez Ojulari will have to play more. It's not an ideal situation.
Yeah. So right now they have 4 guys who are healthy at that spot. You have Jalix Hunt, you have Joshua Uche, you have Azeez Ojulari, and Patrick Johnson. At some point, we expect Nolan Smith to return this season, but likely won't be until after the bye week, November 10th. That Green Bay Packers game is kind of where we're all circling for his potential return. But
He
even when
would be eligible for the second Giants game.
he would be, but it seems like the way they talked about that injury when it happened,
Yeah.
more likely it would be after the bye week. But even when he returns, I mean, this is a triceps injury that predates this season. So who knows how effective he'll be, if he'll even last. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty obvious spot where the Eagles need to add. Howie Roseman needs to get on the phone, and I know that some of their in-season acquisitions haven't gone to plan in recent years. There've been a bunch of examples of that, but you gotta try, and this is now clearly a position of need.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, and I would expect but I'm not sure what you can get at this point. I mean, you got Zadarius Smith, which seemed like a great pickup at the time, and you lose him 5 weeks later. He might have to give up more picks, which yeah, he's given up a lot of picks for guys that haven't really panned out in some cases. Um, but yeah, I agree. He's got to do something. And Jalen Suggs been kind of a disappointment. He doesn't have any sacks. I don't think he's played terrible, but um, gosh, I mean, their whole edge rush position has what 2.5 sacks now, and 1.5 of them just retired.
Yeah, not an ideal situation. Like if you could just be guaranteed that Nolan Smith comes back and is healthy, uh, you'd feel better about it. But I don't even know if you can rely on that. And these other guys, yeah, I mean, Jalix is being kind of thrust into a really big spot in year two of a career that we thought might take some time. Uche and Ojolari, we kind of know the situation with them. They're veterans who had to fight even to make the team. And then Patrick Johnson's been mostly a career special teamer. So, uh, yeah, let's bring up Brandon Graham because I know that that's what everyone is thinking right now. Just retired after 15 seasons, was playing well last year until he got hurt. Possible? Would it help? Is that unfair to him? Is it unfair to the team to do it? Like, where do you think the Eagles would land on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody would love to see it. I think maybe it's a better idea in theory than in practice. He hasn't played or practiced since February, coming off an injury. Um, hasn't had a camp, hasn't been working out. I'm sure he's working out like recreationally. He'll keep himself in good shape, but to come out in week 7 and week 8, whenever, and try. I mean, I just it might take him a month, even if he was willing to do it. And I'm not sure he'd want to do it at this point. I mean, I think he had kind of really come to terms with retiring. Um, when we talked to him when he retired, I mean, he there was there were no shades. I mean, he knew it was time. So, if his heart's not in it, you're better off not doing it. And I'm not sure. Now, I haven't talked to him about this. We see him at all the games. He seems really happy. So, um, I feel like if he believes he can get in good enough, I mean, he certainly wouldn't be able to play before Nolan comes back, but maybe at some point. Um, maybe you think about it. I still think that's kind of a long shot, but at this point, you know, you you got to consider everything.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, and like I don't know if it would just solve a problem because I don't know how many snaps he could even give them. Honestly, that type of ad made more sense to me when they still had Jadarius Smith because even before he retired, I thought that was a position where they could really use some help. Now it's just so glaring, and now they need someone to really maybe be a starter for a little while, maybe be that third guy. So we're talking like significant snap, significant role. And yeah, I don't think Brandon Graham is the answer to that, which okay, if he's not the answer, where are you finding an edge rusher in mid to late October? It's got to come through a trade. And I just have a few names in front of me, and I just quickly scoured some lists of guys who could be available. I haven't had a real chance to sit down and look through rosters, but I think the name on the top of everyone's list is going to be Trey Hendrickson, who did get that deal to figure it out and stay in Cincinnati, but that team's probably not going anywhere. You would think they'd be willing to move him if they get something back that they'd like.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much it would take, and what how we would be willing to give up, and whether it would come with a new contract, or how that would work. Um, he's what, 30? Still an elite player. That would be a huge move. I'm not against it.
Yeah, I mean that's the one that would really like solve the problem. Um, so like I think that it will be doable from like a cap standpoint, from an on-field standpoint, I think it would be perfect because he'd just be a really solid defensive end. Like he'd be a guy who can get after the passer, he can set the edge, he could be a starter for you. He'd be the top guy, obviously, right away in that rotation. So uh, I think he's the guy that you look at first. I don't know how realistic that is.
Yeah, I don't know either. Howie hasn't had great luck with older edge edge guys. I can't help thinking about Robert Quinn, but obviously Trey Hendrickson's been a more consistent player in his career. Robert Quinn's highs are probably about the same, but I shouldn't even compare them. But um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Howie's willing to give up at this point. I don't know what it would take, but certainly something that knowing Howie, he's at least looking into it.
The two guys in Miami, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, could become available. That team is going nowhere in a hurry. Uh, I would be interested in either of those guys.
Yeah, they're both good names. Um, haven't watched a lot of Dolphins this year, probably for the better. Um, but yeah, both good names. I always like Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, someone who's dealt with some injuries, but when healthy, like he has some flash to him for sure.
Yeah, and he's a younger guy. He's probably 25, 26. Um, yeah, the
He's 26.
last couple of years have been tough ones for him. But he was kind of a 6 to 9, 6 to 10 sack guy early in his career. If he's healthy, I'd certainly consider him. I don't think it would.
Hmm.
I don't think it would take much to get him off the Dolphins' hands.
Yeah, and then you have Chubb, who's a little older, 29, has been productive already this year, has 4 sacks in 6 seasons, missed all of the 2024 season with an injury. So I don't know. I one of those guys, maybe that would make some sense. Now we know that Vic was obviously in Miami and it didn't go particularly well. So I don't know where he is on either of those players. I think that's a fair part of this to figure out. Like we can look at the names, and a lot of times familiarity is viewed as a positive thing. I don't know if that's the case with these two players or with anyone who was in Miami with Fangio for that year.
Well, I would assume it wasn't everyone who had a problem with Vic, but it's there's no way to know specifically who it was. So um, if we ask Vic about those two guys, well, he couldn't talk about him anyway. But just to see the look on his face would be probably pretty revealing.
One of the names who's been popping up is Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't think the Giants would trade him in division. Maybe they would, but he's someone who like pedigree for sure, draft pedigree, and they have a surplus of defensive linemen in New York, so potentially could be available. But the Giants are kind of feeling themselves right now.
Yeah, he's only 24, and I feel like he's kind of underachieved based on expectations. But he's a really good player. But you're right. I mean, they have too many defensive linemen. They have the opposite problem with the Eagles. Um,
Do you think the Giants would trade him in division?
I doubt it. Unless they feel like they're so far ahead of the Eagles after Thursday night, they're not concerned about it. Um, doubt it, doubt it, but good name to explore. I would take him.
Yeah, and the last name I had that I scribbled down was Arden Key from the Titans. Been just a solid player in his career. Not super flashy. He has 28 career sacks in 8 seasons, but he's played at a relatively high level the last few years. Kind of a plug and play guy. Uh, 29 years old, 6'5", 240. This is maybe like a more realistic name. I don't know how you feel about those top end guys and if how realistic they are.
Yeah, probably not super realistic, but I mean, this team's desperate. You're trying to get this thing right, and they got nobody to rush the passer. What's interesting to me is that like if Zizo Jalari was on this list, let's say he was still with the Giants, he looked like a really good option. Well, this guy gets 4, 6, 8 sacks a season,
Hmm.
had some injuries. You look at Uche and say, well, he had 11 sacks a couple years ago, maybe. So these are like they have that level guys, and they haven't panned out, which is concerning in a different way. Um, Ojulari couldn't even get on the field for most of the season, and hasn't played poorly, um, but yeah, the sacks just haven't come. It's crazy to think that this team's got 1.5 or 2.5 sacks on their edges in 6 games, and 1.5 of them just retired. It's kinda crazy. Um, and look, yeah, I think you alluded to this. I mean, Nolan, wasn't lighting it up when he got hurt. He didn't have any sacks, and I think he's been banged up. I don't think it was 100%. So what Nolan Smith do you get when you get him back, assuming it is, for the Green Bay game? Um, I think the long-term answer is they better with a draft pick that's improving by the week, you know, I think edge has to be at the top of the list. Now I know Howie will say you never draft for need, but man, he's got to get a young edge in here. And and I think there's also concern. I mean, I'm not saying Bryce Huff would have been the answer, but did they give up on him too soon? He was starting to make some plays when he got hurt. He break his wrist or his finger and went on IR, and then he came back and he didn't really play. Um, Supposedly wasn't a good fit for this defense, but he's got what's he got 3 sacks out there in San Francisco. I don't know. You couldn't keep Sweat at that price. I get that. Um, but yeah, it's a tough situation.
Yeah, I think it's unfair to look at Bryce Huff's production in a different system and say, well, if they had him,
Maybe,
I
I
don't
mean,
think it was a tenable situation here. I don't think he wanted to be here. I don't think they wanted him to be here. I think it
that's
was just
probably
better they moved on.
that's probably true. But why wasn't he a good fit? I mean, I don't know. And why is he good? I mean, I get that his former coach is there, but I don't know. I just I just look at like every edge that they have underachieving, and I'm not sure why that is. I think Wash is a good coach. We've seen it. They had 70 sacks in the season. Um, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but I see a guy who's got 3 sacks that didn't even have a chance to play. Didn't even play a snap in the postseason. Not that they needed him. Um, but you're probably right. It's probably unfair to say Bryce Huff would have been an answer to anything if he was here. But I'm just kind of looking around the landscape of edge rushers, and this team's run through a lot of them who haven't had success.
We
I
have
don't
to
know why
bring
that.
up the other scenario that I know people are probably screaming as they're listening to us or watching us. Uh, Linebacker, right? You have N'Kobe Dean back from injury, did not play a defensive snap in week 6 in his return. You have Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell. They're playing very well for the most part together at inside linebacker, but both of them have a skill set that they could be on the edge a little bit more if needed. Would you be tempted to roll the dice a little bit there and let one of them get more snaps at edge rusher, let N'Kobe fill in at linebacker, at least for a limited menu of plays?
I don't know why not. And every time we ask Vic about that, he's kind of shrugs it off. He says not now. So maybe now is now.
And we've
Uh,
specifically asked him about Jihad Campbell
yeah.
playing on the edge,
Yeah,
which he
but
did some in college, obviously.
yeah. And there's also Zach. But also this is the first time N'Kobe's been back. And we haven't really asked him about it when they had this desperate a need. So um, we might see it, but I just think we'll see it in limited doses. I don't think Jihad Campbell is going to be a full-time edge. I don't think he should be. He's playing so well at inside linebacker. You don't want to mess that up and lose what he gives you there, or what Zach Bond gives you there. So, but I mean, I really like N'Kobe, the player. They might feel like he's a little ways out from being able to play enough snaps to make that viable. But at this point, I would consider everything. I would consider either of those guys, maybe give you a handful of snaps on the edge. Um, we know they can both do it. I mean, Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell can do anything on a football field. So um, it might come to that, and I'd have no
Yeah, yeah.
problem.
I think you have to at least be open to that possibility. In terms of what kind of fix is it, I don't think it's a permanent fix. I don't think it's like that solves all your problems. To me, it's more of a temporary fix. Like it's not like you're putting you have a hole in your jacket. You're not putting a patch that gets sewed on. You're putting some duct tape on it, and that that can last for a little bit.
I'm just getting a new jacket.
So, and that means you get a new team.
I guess that means go out and get somebody, but, um, yeah. I mean, we're kinda assuming that once Nolan gets back, I mean, they're still gonna have issues unless one of these other guys starts really being productive. I mean, they're gosh, they've got what, 4 sacks from the interior, 2 from linebacker, and 2 f 1 half from a safety. Um, and I think Jordan Davis has 2 sacks, like, they were both, like, running a quarterback out of bounds and for no yards. Not that that's a bad thing, but, yeah, this is reached urgent level of they've gotta do something.
Yeah, and we always talk about how the pass rush is tied to the cornerback play, secondary, and they have a weakness there too. So you can't have a weakness in both spots because that's where you really start to get exposed.
Yeah. And I mean, those are the 2 things all summer, cornerback 2 and edge that we were concerned about, and it's played out that way. Those are the 2 things that they've really gotta and gosh, I don't know what they're gonna do at cornerback. Um, I don't know. That's another one where you think maybe they can, consider moving Cooper outside full time and piece together the slot with Barry Nickerson or Mac McWilliams or I don't know who, but they've got some issues on defense, and yeah, we'll talk to Vic tomorrow. I'm not sure how forthcoming. He's usually pretty forthcoming on these things. He'll definitely tell us what they won't do. He might not tell us what they will do, but it's it's you can't play good defense if you're down one corner and you don't have any effective edge rushers. You just can't play defense that way.
Totally agree. All right, so we'll hear from Vic on Tuesday. We have our podcast coming up, our regularly scheduled podcast after we talk to Vic. So we'll have an update on, and we're talking to Nick Sirianni after we do this podcast. So by the next time we talk to everyone, maybe we'll have a better sense of how the Eagles are going to handle this. This was just a quick emergency Eagle Eye episode. If you enjoy Eagle Eye, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe there as well. Rube, any final thoughts?
No, I'm curious to see what Nick will say if he saw this coming, if this was a big surprise. Uh, we'll talk to him later today, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, Tuesday.
All right, sounds good. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been an emergency Eagle Eye podcast brought to you by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.